you know, it's an amazing thing to be a part of a show that can sort of be watched by a whole family together, and a show that's just about hope. It's not trying to be anything gritty or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know, to be a part of something that brings hope to so many people and people can really escape in, it was an incredible thing to be a part of.
Yeah, and it was nice. It's nice to have this character where people will come up to me still to go, oh my god, I loved you on Once Upon a Time, or like, you know, you were this, that, and that. But I love it when people come up to go, oh my god, I hated you. Or Once Upon a Time, you were such a bitch, and I'm like, thank you so much.
That was me.
Thank you, job done. Because as we all know, I'm such a humble delight in real life. So the fact that I was able to pull off, wasn't it a stretch?
I'm still in awe.
Yeah.
You know, I mean. Didn't play myself, so. But yeah, I loved it.
I think one of the things that we're really grateful for is there's two sides to it. The first thing I think is the amazing response from, you know, the amazing people like yourselves that not just watched it but have rewatched it and all of that. So to make something that an audience really feels connected to and really loves and feels passionate about. But from a selfish point of view, we all managed, and it doesn't happen on every show or every movie, but we all managed to take away genuine, lifelong friendships. This is a very rare thing where a cast really kind of bonds, and we've all remained extremely close, especially the three of us and a few others, like, all still super close. So that to us is, you know, it's a double blessing, really.
Do you know what? I couldn't agree more.
We were saying last night at dinner, we all have our own little catchphrases. I always say, do you know what? Colin always says genuinely. Everything is genuine.
Was hashtag.
And hers is hashtag. Hashtag bless.
Genuinely. And you went, do you know what? You say hashtag all the time. I'm like, oh, piss off, do I?
Hashtag for real.
Genuinely. Do you know what?
So anyway, yes, we do. We feel incredibly blessed and incredibly grateful to you guys, because, you know, if an audience, doesn't matter how good a show is, if an audience doesn't watch it, you don't really get to make any more of them. So big thank you to you guys.
Friendship, family, and hope. Yeah, I really love it. In real life, IRL, girl. Hashtag IRL. Oh my god, I do it.
Can you talk about what it was about your characters specifically that you enjoyed portraying the most?
I can jump in. You know, in a world that is ever changing at the moment, and there's a lot of things that I think are scaring a lot of us about what's going on around the world. You know, seeing people that have decency and integrity and, you know, inspire us to be better, there's a shortage of that. And to play somebody like Robin Hood, who's, you know, for centuries represented integrity and decency and, you know, the idea of robbing from the rich, which, let's be honest, all those billionaires, I wouldn't mind robbing. So many good, decent people out there that need help right now, and so to have the honour of playing someone like Robin Hood, who represents that integrity and that decency, really made me feel in my real life, I want to live up to that. I mean, it's impossible to live up to Robin Hood, but I try every day to try and be a little bit more decent and try and be a little bit more empathic and kind, you know?
I loved how, like, emotionally unstable and messed up my character was. I loved it. I loved the fact that, I remember when I first got the job and I was talking to Adam, and like, why am I green though? They're like, because you're just so jealous of your sister. I'm like, ooh, that'll be fun. So to be really jealous and turn green and scream and spit in Lana's face, like, it was just fun, man. I loved it, just like, ooh, I'm gonna take everything right now! It's psycho. It's so much fun. It's so rare. Like, most jobs you're like, here's some information. Thanks, Your Honor. And this was like just a psycho with a head spinning on a broomstick. I mean, it's not normal, is it?
I like the leather pants and eyeliner.
I was actually channeling you this morning when I got dressed.
I know, I was admiring them.
You can borrow them if you like.
I'll wear them for the...
Put them in your suitcase in the green room. They're yours now.
Is leather pants still a staple of the wardrobe?
Not as much nowadays, but sometimes when I'm on my own, I like to walk around in my leather pants.
That's a lot of information. What a visual.
Don't put that on the internet.
Too late. It's a live stream.
Speaking of Lana, all of your characters had really interesting dynamics with her iconic character Regina. What about your character dynamics with Regina was most fun exploring?
I mean, Hook and Regina had a complicated relationship.
Hashtag it's complicated.
Hashtag complicated. Yeah, we think there might have been something went on in the past between them, but it was never.
This is brand new information.
You did see what I looked like in the show, didn't you? Don't put that in the internet.
It's live.
And then, then they had a... Yeah, I think it was sort of weird. They went through a load of stuff, Hook and Regina, throughout the seasons. And then obviously in the final season, they kind of teamed up. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, I was kind of lucky with all the characters that I got to have like really complex relationships with. So, that's the kind of guy Hook was, I think.
Hashtag it's complicated. I loved fighting with Lana the best. I loved just, you know, we'd be nice like that's what it felt like we were doing this going. It was so much fun. But then, you know, she'd come into the hair and makeup.
And they call action.
And cut. Well, that was just in my trailer. But like when she came to stage, she was like, oh no, I'm sick. I'm like, oh no. You just knew that was going to be mine by the end of the day because we would just spend the whole day growling into each other's faces. It was fun.
I liked the idea that Regina's character and Robin's character both had kind of a complicated past, and they were both sort of slightly fractured and damaged, and they were finding, until my untimely demise, they were sort of finding redemption in each other, and they were both, you know, not by any stretch perfect people, but they were finding that redemption through each other, and also Lana was, you know, she's been one of the great actors that I've got to play opposite, and because I think we are very close off camera, that chemistry kind of filtered through to what we were doing on the screen, and I'm still very proud and very happy that we got to play that out for all of you lovely people.
This conversation right away by talking about family, hope, friendships. There are so many relationships in this show. There are parent-child relationships, there are sibling dynamics, there are romantic relationships. What would you say, which of those dynamics did you enjoy seeing develop the most? And it could be any characters, not necessarily just your own.
That's a tough one. I always wanted more scenes with Colin because they
yeah, you did.
Because the brief times that we had together, there was an interesting kind of dynamic between us that we were sort of figuring out as we were going.
Yeah, there was.
I think the spin-off is when we moved in together and live in a nice little cottage in Seattle.
I would totally watch that.
Robin Hooked.
A lot of leather in that house.
Oh yeah.
Great title.
Yeah.
For me, it is kind of the Hook and Emma relationship was sort of like it was interesting because when I come on the show, Eddie and Adam sort of explained to me early on that they sort of wanted a love triangle similar to Lost with that was like Sawyer and Jack and Kate, and so Hook was kind of the Sawyer bad boy kind of character, and then it just sort of spiraled. You know, the relationship between Hook and Emma kind of just, you know, became a big thing. So that was fun to explore. Yeah.
To expand on that, Colin, I'm actually curious. Was that something that was that a relationship you knew that was going to happen, like when you signed on, or is that something that kind of, it became its own thing?
I knew that there was going to be something. We didn't know that how big a thing it was going to become, I guess, or that they'd necessarily end up together. But yeah, I knew that it was going to play out a little bit. But yeah, it seemed to work, I guess.
I enjoyed it. But what I really enjoyed, said the narcissistic actress, was I did enjoy the sibling-sister relationship on the show, just because most of the relationships and all the ships were romantic. It was nice to have at least one sort of sibling relationship, and you know, over the years I've met people where, you know, they've reconciled with sisters or friends that were like sisters because we were sort of able to and stuff. So I think it was nice to kind of look at a sibling relationship. It's not every relationship had to be sexual, you know. Bit of a break from that, you know. It's nice.
It was nice. It was nice to see different types of relationships growing and taking form during the run of the show.
Yeah, totally.
When I joined the show, I think it was Mikey Raymond James who played Neil, said, do you know about this ships business? And I was like, no, would it be like boats? No, like it's like relationships. I was like, no, what is that? I never heard that. Is that a relatively new term? Did that just come out? Has that been around for a really long time?
Yeah.
Boomer.
Well, no, I think it was pretty new when the show first started. That kind of term.
Yeah, it was.
I think. Was it not?
It was like, I ship here, and I was like, what do you mean, like FedEx? Or like, it was all, I was not in the groove. I didn't understand a lot of the
I didn't know what it was either.
No.
There's lots of terms I didn't know.
Yeah,
there's lots of stuff on the internet that I found out that I didn't know about.
Be careful with that, and clear your browser history.
Did that become your phrase for a while?
Clear your browser history.
It should be. Well, no, it just, you know, I wasn't on social media before I joined the show, because I just thought, why? You know what I mean? I was born in the last century, you know, with rotary phones and talking to people like that, and it sort of scared me a little bit, the interweb, and for good reason, because, you know, I think there's a wonderful thing that comes with social media and how we can be connected, but it also allows for a lot of like bad behaviour without taking any responsibility. Do you know what I mean? You know, you get 100 nice comments and then one person just says something absolutely atrocious. But of course they don't have their name or their face, so they can, I think we should all be held accountable for what we do and what we say. And I think when you get to be really kind of vile to people, but you don't have to take any responsibility for that. I'm not a huge fan of that. I think we should all be held accountable, you know?
Would you be friends with your character IRL?
So many hashtags. No, what a nightmare. Can you imagine trying to be friends with Zelena? I've got 2 kids, I don't have it to do, I'm knackered. Trying to deal with her and her BS, I'd be like, mate, get another therapist. Here's a bottle of whiskey, I'll call you when my kids are 18, I don't have the energy for you and your malarkey. I just think, malarkey? What a nightmare.
I'd be friends with Hook. Yeah, I think he'd be a bit of a laugh, to be honest. You know?
I'd be friends with Hook. He'd be useful if you have a particularly tricky can of Coke that you can't open. I'd be like, mate, could you just... The ring pull came off, just... the disdain, you're looking... How dare you besmudge my Hook? Right, tin of beans.
Alright, we can do that. Move on.
It's very defensive, genuinely.
Hashtag effective, use the hashtag. I'm offended.
Yeah, I think I'd be friends with Robin Hood.
I would. He'd be
he seems like
present.
a pretty good guy. There's nothing weird about a man who lives in the forest with a bunch of other men,
Yeah.
wearing a lot of leather. I think Robin Hood is a bit of a good guy. So yeah, I think I'd want to be friends with him.
This show had such a large ensemble cast. There were constantly new characters being introduced season after season. Was there a character, like a fairy tale character, a reoccurring role that you're like, I wish we got to see more of them, they were very interesting?
Yeah, there were lots. There were lots of characters that came in and out. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who. There's some characters that I would have liked to have seen in the show. I think it would have been fun to have Winnie the Pooh. Or Eeyore.
Yeah.
I would like to see a little bit more of Pongo. Isn't that the name of the dog? What's the name of the dog? Isn't that a Pongo? Is it? Yeah.
I would have liked more Granny. Like, I like the whole diner. I liked being in Storybrooke. Like, more of like the local peeps in Storybrooke. That was always my favourite when I was watching the show. I liked the days when we all got to go to the diner and be at Granny's and hang out. Those were really fun. I loved all those characters. I actually really liked Red Riding Hood too. I think we should have kept her. I'd really like her.
She's a lovely woman as well.
I really liked fighting with Grumpy.
I love Grumpy.
He'd always run in, every single scene he was running in screaming.
Chill out. How much coffee have you had at Granny's, mate?
I think also the show, because they were always pulling from, the Disney canon, is that the right expression? And I guess Pixar's part of that. Like, it would have been interesting if we'd have kept making the show like, Maui from Moana. Would have been a kind of a fun.
Or Encanto, I love Encanto.
Oh, Encanto, like some of the newer ones. But also Disney kind of own for everything now. They own everything but Father Christmas. Because they own Star Wars, if we'd have had like a kind of crossover with a Star Wars thing, that would have been kind of fun. Having stormtroopers in the forest and stuff. That's just I'm a big kid.
Yes, he is.
My next question is for you, Rebecca, and may I just say how exciting it is to have Zelena in Emerald City.
It feels right.
It really does.
It feels wicked, yeah. I belong here, for sure.
And she played a little trick on us, throughout the seasons. We weren't sure if we would see her more.
You can't get rid of me. Like a lingering fart. You have to let it linger. You can't get rid of
Believe me, I tried.
And I'm still right here lingering. You can't get rid of me. They tried to kill me off 100 times. And then they just had to keep bringing me back. So, nice try, guys.
Well, that first time, I'm curious, did you know from the beginning that there was going to be that twist, or was it just, we love this character, let's keep doing more?
It was only ever supposed to be 8 episodes. So when I got the call and, they asked if I could do it, it was supposed to be like that arc, because in season 3 is when they started splitting the seasons into 2, and you had like the 2 different storylines, and it was like season 3A, 3B or whatever, and they just have Peter Pan, they're like, you're going to be the second half of season 3, and then you're going to be obliterated, and I'm like, oh lovely, thanks, I will take it. So I had no idea, and then it came back, and then, killed me off again, and then they brought me back again, and I'm just like, yeah. I had no idea, but it just kept going and going. It was great.
For everyone, you spent a good amount of time on the show. It ran for, I believe, 7 seasons. I want to know, what is something you learned on the set of Once Upon a Time that you felt you have taken with you and applied to other projects that you have worked on? It can be any type of training, maybe tips from other talent or the production team.
Well, we definitely learnt a lot in regards to shooting on blue screen and green screen. I mean, I had done it a little bit before, but we did it loads. And to learn to do a scene where nothing is there and pretend that it is, I mean, that was a huge lesson in training for a lot of us. There'd be like flying monkeys and things going here, and bits of tape and bits on the floor. That was a lot. That was interesting. That's a good skill.
My bow, because I had this long bow and arrow kind of thing, and you know, really long and cumbersome and stuff. And like Beck says, when we were in those big, I mean, the blue stage or the green stage were kind of almost like this size, would you say? Like roughly, like they're huge and they've got really high ceilings, but there's no furniture. And if you go over to the monitor, you kind of see like a rough blueprint of what it will look like when it's had post-production. And so I'm walking around with my bow over my sort of back, and they were like, "Stop, you just walked through a wall." And I was like, "No, I didn't. There's no bloody walls here." And they're like, "Yeah, but on the camera." So that took a minute for, I was like, I've got to imagine these walls so that I don't keep walking through them and stuff. So that took me a little bit of time to get my head around.
I mean, yeah, the green screen, I think. Yeah, that was the big one. The first time on set doing that was a big shock, you know. And I think realistically it was that. I mean, I could sword fight now, you know. Yeah, I mean, I don't do it that often, but I could handle myself.
Yeah, you could. God bless Ireland. Genuinely.
I'm still rubbish with a bow and arrow though. People are like, "You couldn't archery." I'm like, "No, they never let me shoot anybody. They didn't trust me."
I'm really good with the broomstick now.
Great, my kitchen needs sweeping.
On my way.
This series is full of stories, and so I'm curious, growing up, were there any stories that you particularly latched onto or really loved and enjoyed?
Like fairy tale stories.
It could be fairy tale stories, or it can honestly be books as well.
I mean, I loved Hansel and Gretel as a kid. So, yeah.
I really like that book. Do you know that kid's book, Where the Wild Things Are? That was my favourite. And at school, I made my own puppet show about the book. I made the puppets and did the light through it and did like a whole show for everyone. I took it so seriously, I was so nervous, and it went really well, and I cried.
Was that for fun, or was that for like a project?
It was like a school project. I was so pleased. That's great. I love that book. I love reading it to my kids now. I'm like, once Mummy did it as a puppet show, they're like, whatever, mate. Like, not interested. That's a good book.
I was pre-Harry Potter sort of generation. The author that really got me into reading as a kid was Roald Dahl, and I loved The Witches and George's Marvelous Medicine and James and the Giant Peach, and he really understood, I think, the mind of a child. And he also, because, you know, if you've ever read Boy, or what's the follow-up to Boy, which is sort of his autobiography. There's Boy and then there's a second one I forget.
Man?
There's somebody out there on that. You know, he obviously had quite a lot of tragedy in his life, and he lost his parents, I think, quite young, and so introducing a lot of the central characters, you know, like in The Witches, the kid's lost his parents and he lives with his grandma, and I think Disney are quite good at that, you know, tackling loss for young people, which is terribly sad, but it's also part of life, and he just had a brilliant, irreverent sense of humour, and there were always just that side of naughty and mischievous, which I was, so I kind of related. I am a bit mischievous. But yeah, I think Roald Dahl books really, that was my foray into reading, and yes, I still read them to my kids now. They're still fun books, I think.
Thank you for sharing, everyone. In this show as well, it takes you to some fantastical looking places, and there are some fantastical looking places all around us. So not necessarily just on this show, in any project that you worked on, what would you say was your favorite location to film in?
Hawaii on Lost. Sometimes I'd like take a nap and then open my trailer door and it's like, oh, majestic mountains, like where are the dinosaurs? It's where Jurassic Park was filmed. It was the same set. I'm like, what? How am I here? Wow, how lucky am I? Moments like that where, even in Vancouver too, like some of the locations we filmed at, you'd be at these beautiful lakes in the middle of British Columbia at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, oh, is this the waiting room for heaven? I mean, the Pacific Northwest, this area is so stunning. It's like, all right, calm down, especially when the spring hits and it's starting to show off. You're like, wow, it's such a beautiful part of the world.
I loved Vancouver. I absolutely loved it. Everything about it, it's beautiful. So Vancouver, Rome, I filmed in Rome. Rome was incredible. I mean, it's Rome. Do you know what I mean? So, Vancouver and probably Rome were my two favourites.
I was lucky enough to go and shoot a couple of episodes of SWAT last year or 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I've lost all concept of time. And we filmed 2 episodes in Thailand. Ooh. And so I got to be in Chiang Mai and Bangkok, and because we shot in 3 different parts. And anybody who's ever been to Thailand will tell you, I mean, it's one of the most extraordinarily beautiful countries in the world, and the people are just remarkably lovely and kind and nice. And one of the actors that I was working closely with on the show got COVID while we were filming, so they're like, sorry, we have to shut down, you're gonna have to just sit around for a week. And I brought my wife and my children with me, so I was like, oh no! A week with no filming in Thailand? Whatever will we do? Come on kids, we're off to Costa Movie. I remember once, he won't know I've said this, but I'm going to throw my son under the bus a little bit here. We were booked so late that I had to pay for all of our flights and everything, and because there was no seats available, we had to fly business class. And I remember we were in these like really big chairs. All the money that I earned on the show had to go on flights, so we made no money. But my son was in this, one of these big chairs in business class, and I was across the aisle, and I said, Flynn, it goes back, and his headphones on. This is how quickly a kid, because we were an economy family most of the time, and how quickly he took his headphones off, and I said, you can put your chair back, and he goes, it's okay, Daddy, one of the servants will do it for me. What did you just say? He went, the people, and I was like, no, not servants, not servants. We're a working class family. I was like, oh my God. And that was the last time we ever flew business class. But yeah, Thailand was absolutely majestic.
But you still have the butler though, right?
Yeah, we still got the butler, we kept him. Well, he's been there, he's been with us for generations. But no, I agree with Colin though, and I think Seattle is the same. This part of America, Seattle and Oregon and going up to Vancouver, it's just beautiful, beautiful part of the world. But yeah, Vancouver's gorgeous.
So I will be opening it up to fan questions pretty soon, but I want to share with our audience, we will be conducting fan questions a little differently. So in a few moments, a QR code will appear on either screen, and you can scan the QR code to submit your questions, and your questions will actually appear up here on these screens for all of us.
This is fancy.
And they also have to be in the form of interpretive dance. So if you could just dance the question out, we'd really appreciate it.
Are you going to answer?
Oh, of course, I will dance the answer.
How 2025? Hashtag modern.
So you all have worked on a fantasy show for quite some time. When it comes to other projects, is there anything that you're on the lookout for? Any types of stories you want to tell? Any different types of genres you want to try out?
Comedy. Just want to do comedy, I just want to make people laugh.
Are you funny enough?
No.
Oh, she's funny enough. I know that. Yeah, comedy. I've done a fair bit of comedy, and I have to say, there's nothing quite as joyful as turning up to work on like a Monday morning and realizing, especially if you're on a sitcom, our job today from 8, 9 in the morning till 4, 5 in the afternoon is just sit around trying to figure out how to make people laugh. It's such a gift. It's such a wonderful thing to do, and when you've got a great cast and you've got great writers, and when they write a great joke for you, especially back in the day when we would shoot sitcoms in front of a live audience, you know, you'd be like, I've got this joke coming up, like in a page and a half, and I know that's going to kill and stuff. And yeah, that's really just the gift of gifts, because you kind of wouldn't say it out loud, but you do it for free. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause it's just a pleasure to do.
You just said it.
Did I? Can we strike that from the record, please? But yeah, comedy's fun. I don't think I've ever done anything. Have you guys ever done sci-fi?
Yeah.
Have you? I'd like to, maybe sci-fi.
I want to do more sci-fi. You know what I want to do? I want to be on a new Star Trek show.
Yeah, we met some of their cast and they're all completely lovely.
Yeah, they're wicked. I'm like, I want to hang out with you all day. Let's be on Star Trek.
I'd like to do a spy thing with a vintage British car.
Do you think Colin would make a good Bond? We were talking about this at dinner last night. Who should be the new Bond? And we've come to the conclusion this should be Colin. We've heard it, the public has spoken.
I think it'll be good.
And I'll be Moneypenny.
You make a good Moneypenny.
I'll be like, oh, hello, James. Do you want one of your gadgets?
Hello, Moneypenny.
Oh, he's so hunky.
Watch it.
Yes, we're the new Bond and Moneypenny, and you can be Q.
Yeah.
Oh no, M. You'd be N.
Or Jaws.
Or Jaws. Ooh, that's exciting. Yeah.
I like being villains more.
There we go. We're just putting that out there to the universe now.
Halfway there, let's go. Are there any projects, personal or professional, that you can talk about that you are working on and would like to share a little bit more about?
Ooh, I have something, but I can't really talk about it, but it's been a long time coming. I wrote something back in 2003 and then put it on the shelf, and it was a movie, and now I'm sort of trying to turn it into a television show, which has taken a really long time, but I think we are starting to get there, and I'm really hoping, and again putting it out into the universe, that we'll start to shoot it at the beginning of next year.
Am I in it, Sean?
I'm available.
I hope so. Well, that's the other thing about, if you create something yourself and you write something yourself, you know, there's nothing better than
Putting your mates in it.
Do you know what?
Hello? We're right here, do you know what I mean?
Why wouldn't you hire your own friends? And you know, because you know, days on set can be long, but when you're with people that you love, the day goes faster and it's fun. And also, they're both pretty good actors, aren't they? Who wouldn't hire these two? So yeah, the idea of getting to sort of have artistic control over something and then being able to hire people that you absolutely adore is a dream come true. So yes, fingers crossed next year that'll get to be made.
I have a Civil War show coming out soon called The Grey House.
When is it coming out and how can we see it?
Well, I don't know when it's coming out yet. That's the only thing.
Do you know what it's going to be on?
I don't know for definite.
It's going to be on
today for
It's
definite.
mysterious.
You have a great beard in it, don't you?
I have a great beard in it and I ride a horse.
Yeah.
What more do
I
you
shoot things. People.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened during the Civil War, it's true.
And it was produced by Paramount, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know when it's coming out yet.
Keep us
But it
posted.
should be soon. There was an email last week saying it should be soon.
This year, hopefully this year, right?
Yes, hopefully.
Okay. Stay tuned, everybody. I'm not on a show. I'd like to be on a show, so I'd like a job. In the meantime, I'm just trying to raise 2 people and a 45-year-old man. I'm tired, and I like doing comps because this is relaxing. But I'm available, so thank you.
Let's go to this first fan question here that says, what episodes were the most difficult to film?
All the ones with Bex.
The rain.
I think, yeah.
Inactive rain was brutal because you had to keep going because you can't break for the rain when you're filming up here, otherwise you'd never get anything done. And sometimes it'd be raining sideways and you're like, this isn't going to work. So you got the reshoot. I mean, what was amazing as well, like they would put like a scrim over us, like a big plastic tarpaulin thing over us to try and keep us dry while we were filming. And you think, well, this isn't usable. I can't bloody hear what Rumpelstiltskin's saying, and he's right there. And then you'd watch it, and they were able, the sound people, to pull out the sound of the rain and just leave the voices behind. I'm like, that's magic. It's really cool.
I don't think it was particular episodes. It was more just like a
environments.
Yeah, the rain was tough. The Friday nights tended to be.
Saturday.
Yeah, so we'd shoot through until like 6 on Saturday morning, whatever, on the green screen, and like while it was great, it was tough because then you had to readjust. But yeah, it was mostly just the elements was what was difficult, really. So.
I mean, Vancouver and all of its splendour, it begs it to be shot, but you know, from October through till February, March, April, you know, it's pretty cold. There was a lot of night shoots and stuff, and you know, we're the luckiest people in the world to do what we do. So you know, we don't like to complain, but those night shoots and stuff like that, there are times when you're just like, oh. You're just waiting to hear those magical words. That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. To get into a warm car and go home. But you know, it's funny. You know, there's an old expression: "Pain is temporary, films forever." And you know, our early side tend to forget the bits that were hard. And I often just remember the laugh that we had and the kind of the giggles and camaraderie that we had amongst each other. And so, yeah, it was all worth it, I think.
Which character arc was your favorite and why? This was a question from earlier.
Mine? Not gonna lie. Mine.
I don't know. I kind of need to rewatch the show because I missed a lot of it.
We should do a rewatch together.
We should.
I think.
Okay! The people have spoken.
I think.
You just like vodka.
She should do a podcast.
A vodka. That's not a bad idea, young lady. Not a bad idea. We did something like that in the past, didn't we, Rebecca, during those pandemic days?
Oh, did you?
We did.
We did.
We did.
We did. We were amazing.
If only just to entertain ourselves, because we were climbing the walls.
My favourite part of doing a podcast with Sean Maguire was that one time he came into the frame and was sideways. In the shot. Just this way. And he couldn't turn himself around.
No, I'm not the most technically gifted person.
It was the most Maguire moment.
Did I not get the email or what happened there?
Did you not come on and talk to us?
Did we not invite him as a guest? We did! You were sat by your radiator.
Yes, you did.
You were sitting on the floor next to your radiator. You did do an episode. He was on the floor.
Was I really on it? I don't remember that.
You were. You were sitting on the floor and we were both like, have you been naughty?
Yeah. Are you in a timeout? It's like, no, the Wi-Fi is just the best in this room.
Colin's been forced to sit beside. I do remember you were.
Oh.
We were both kind of giggling.
I don't remember that. I think I had been naughty.
Sitting by the radiator because Helen had told you go over there and sit by the radiator, you've been naughty. But yes, you did, and Robbie came on and Lana came on.
People laughing at that, that's not funny.
And your behaviour was not funny.
Yeah, that was fun. We did little things to pass the time. And thanks for anybody who watched that, by the way. That was very kind of you guys. We enjoyed that. I forgot what the question was.
What was your favorite character arc?
Oh, sugar.
I think Rumble's story was good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's so much, and you invest so much in your own. I don't mean it in like a sort of egotistical or narcissistic way, but you kind of get caught up in your own thing that you sort of, you know, I think Hook had a great arc from being a villain the whole way around, but I think all across the board, what Eddie and Adam and the writers were really good at was sort of making the villains not likable, but have redeeming qualities, you know, and either they went the opposite way where they had a chance to redeem themselves and didn't, or like in the case of Hook, he did. So I think that, but there was so many, I mean look, there was a lot of stories. There were a lot of stories in Once Upon a Time. So it's hard to pick one. I think Regina, by the end, I think it was, you know, she deserved her happy ending, you know. So yeah, there was lots of things in the show.
I think that the thing that, as Colin said, what I think Adam and Eddie were really clever about is sort of, and did that, I forget if I'm paraphrasing, but like, evil's not born. It's like, you know, when you look at somebody who's a bad person, they weren't born that way. It was a series of events that happened, and they're often hurt people, do you know what I mean? And damaged people go on to be damaging to others. And I think one of the reasons that I think probably that the show was such a success is because it was about redemption. And I think there's a lot of us out there who feel less than perfect, and when you're watching a character like Hook, like Zelena, like Regina, who are damaged and fractured, and you see that road back to redemption, it kind of makes you go, well, if they can do it, there's hope for me, kind of thing. And I think, as Colin said earlier, I think the universal element about the show was really hopeful. And I think, you know, we're certainly in a time where hope feels somewhat in short supply. So I think that's why people go back to it and revisit it and take so much from it.
A question earlier was, what was your favorite plot twist?
Oh, when I've been made married all along.
When I read that, I was like, oh my god! This is cheeky.
That was such a fun moment, and it was a fun reveal too, because like Rumpel was all trapped in a bed with a thing down his throat. It was so cool. Then
yeah, the villain's got a lot of the really fun stuff. Well, Colin got a lot of fun stuff as well. I think the more complicated the character, I think the more interesting they are for the actor to play. And you know, Robin was a great character. I feel blessed and grateful, but he was always pretty much a good guy for the most part. Whereas the characters that have a bit more complexity and darkness, I think, are more fun for the actor to examine and play. So yeah, I think the villain's got most of the really juicy stuff.
I'd actually like to expand on this question a bit, because as actors, do you like to know if your character is going to be involved in a plot twist, like ahead of time, or do you like to see it as a surprise? I understand it might be a little different from TV compared to movies, but in general, do you like it, or do you like it to be right?
Well, if you're going to get killed, it'd be nice to get a heads up. No, listen, I think the other thing is, the writers have ideas of where they're going, and also I joke, but it is our job as actors to serve the writing. Do you know what I mean? They're not there to do something for us, they're there to serve the narrative of the show. And I think often, you know, because this show was made in a time of social media, Adam and Eddie and the writers were also listening to the audience, and I think that often changed the narrative a little bit, and they obviously wanted to make what was popular and what pleased the audience. So I think the guys were incredibly clever, and clearly, you know, they made a big hit show, so they know what they're doing.
I think it helps to know, so you can kind of play something earlier, not to give away a plot twist, but that, you know, if you know something's coming, then you can kind of hint at it a little bit, you know, or at least, like, you probably play a scene slightly different because you know that in 2 or 3 episodes' time it's going to pay off in a certain way. So yeah, I think it's good. But like, see, with like Once Upon a Time, where we were doing 22, 23 episodes a season, you don't always get the luxury of, because they're just trying to write the scripts and get them, you know, get them out. So we might not find stuff out till
actors get the script last. I think a lot of people don't realise that. Like, we're the ones actually playing it. It's our character's truth and story, and hair and makeup have had it for 2 weeks. You're like, I do what with the what to the who? Do I? Oh my god! And they're like, oh yeah, you didn't know? I'm like, what? I mean, every other department gets a script first because they have to prep the next episode because we're busy filming the other one. So it was a constant kind of. I liked the kind of not knowing in a way, because I kind of like running by the seat of my pants and just kind of taking it as it was coming in and just trying to make it keep me as present as possible and not get stuck too much in what was coming down the pike, you know? Like, sometimes that messes with my head, so I liked the kind of spontaneousness of it all. chaos. I liked it.
There was a question here earlier that said, if memory served them correct, you three were the biggest pranksters on set? Is that true? No.
Well, no, Colin wasn't much of a prankster. I mean,
I'm really boring, so...
You're a lovely...
I would have put Josh Dallas up there, probably.
Josh, yeah, Josh was Josh made us laugh a lot. I think, you know, as I say, there are often very long days, you know, cold, and it's my nature to be a bit silly, so if I can be silly to make people laugh, I will. So, but it was more just me acting the Egypt, just to pass the time, rather than, you know, we weren't putting cellophane on the toilets and doing things like that. Mainly because our costumes were like these $30,000 works of art, so you can't. It wasn't really like practical jokes or things like that, but just silly tomfoolery.
Yeah, there weren't much in the way of massive pranks.
It's just mostly piss taking.
Yeah.
And like these poor directors would come in and like, guys, and you got these two like, in the kitchen, and then the other two like, and this poor director like, we're trying to get everyone to just shut up and focus. I mean,
actors are a little bit like children, you know, and sometimes, especially if it was all of us together.
In a big screen, it's like, shut up!
Josh and Ginny. Because like, we're not always all together, so when we're together, it's like, oh yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing at the weekend? Yeah, we'll get to the show in a second.
It's a nightmare.
But I think that was also a byproduct because we all genuinely really liked each other and we got on with each other, and it was
wrangling children. It was exhausting for the first day.
The way you said that, Bex, is really like you were just ready to go all the time and not
I was a massive part of it.
messing around.
Me and Lana were the most
laughing.
annoying. We were the most annoying in the corner, like oh my god. I'm so sorry to everybody that it affected.
Josh had a fart machine in Neverland.
Yeah.
That was probably the most pranky thing in Neverland. So you'd be doing the scene and all you hear coming from a tree somewhere in the corner.
The infarted forest. Yeah, Josh does. There was a show on the air at the time called House of Cards, and do you remember Josh would do a really good Kevin Spacey voice?
He does a really good Kevin Spacey.
Yeah. He's a pretty good mimic. Is our Josh but yeah, just silliness. Just acting like children to pass the time.
What was your favorite stunt that you performed?
Flying my broomstick.
That's a good one.
I mean, I climbed the beanstalk, one-handed, trying to carry everything.
Did you break your foot on a chair?
I did break my foot in a chair. Thanks, Bex.
Wasn't that doing the dangerous stunt of dancing?
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. Yeah.
You're so brave.
Yeah, but I did continue to dance for the entire rest of the day.
What a trooper!
Because I didn't tell them it was broken. So
1 foot, 1 arm, just like walking wounded.
you know, I'm a professional.
I know, and you're very brave.
I am very brave.
It was really funny, we were doing a scene once when we were, I don't know, it was a giant blue screen day, and Aladdin and Jasmine were standing next to me, and he had just had a giant motorcycle accident and jacked up his leg. Aladdin had, and I said, hey, how did you do that again? It's like motorcycle accident. I'm like, how'd you do yours again, Colin? He's like, alright, babes. Alright. I said, having a bit of a boogie on a chair, what was yours? Getting off a freeway, nearly dying. Similar. I'm horrible. That was how it always was. It was just like being at school.
I had an episode where it was sort of Robin's sort of backstory, and we just moved to like New York, and we're going to live in Rumble's apartment, and a robber steals a woman's handbag, and I jump on a horse and chase after him down the streets of New York. It was actually Vancouver. And I was like, oh, do I get to ride a horse? And they're like, no, because that would be incredibly dangerous because the horse can't ride on concrete. And I was like, oh, okay, so what am I riding on? And it was like a kid's hobby horse. That on a truck, and then they're driving that down the street. And of course there's members of the public who are watching me. And honestly, I must have looked like one of those people that are like, what's that man doing? I was a bit maybe I was like a Make-A-Wish person, like they wanted to just like give this poor man, like, he really thinks he's riding a horse. Bless him, he doesn't know. So it was weird, because there were just people in Vancouver going, what in the world is going on here? Why is that middle-aged man on a hobby horse on a truck?
Please tell me someone videoed that.
Oh, it was on the telly.
Well, yeah, but not the whole bit.
You couldn't see that. Like, when you looked at it on TV, it does look like I'm riding a horse, but in real life, I was just like, oh, this is so sad. I just looked like somebody had to just, like, oh, let's just let him live out his fantasy. Riding a horse down Main Street in Vancouver. So that was kind of fun and somewhat pathetic. But that episode I had to jump through windows and do a few things, so that was kind of fun. I think, you know, for boys but girls as well, it's fun when you get to do that stuff, sword fighting and horse riding and climbing up stuff. You're like, oh, you know.
I used to love the sword fighting. It was really good.
I love putting a harness on. It's like putting a diaper on, and you click it around all your bits, and then you put everything back on, and then all of a sudden they're like action, you're like. I mean, what is better than that? Just up into the ceiling. I'm like, wow, this is.
I did not love putting the harness on.
Did you?
No.
Didn't it just cup and lift?
Oh no. It pinched and squeezed.
That's a lot of information.
You're lucky you only just broke your foot.
You know what they say, pinch and squeeze?
Well, I'm glad I came here today.
Oh, Seattle.
Unfortunately, this will have to be the last question.
Oh, you said this would last forever.
You will be around after this.
We will be. Please come and say hello to us, so we don't get lonely.
And so a final question I saw here on the screen was, are you surprised with how the show has impacted people?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know much about the show when I came on. I didn't realise what a big phenomenon it was the first season, and like, we get to travel pretty much the world and meet people who have been really affected by Once Upon a Time, and it's really helped them through tough times. And to be a part of a show like that, that's just simply about hope, is incredible. You know, because like, people really take the show to heart, and it allows them to escape whatever that is, for even if it's just for an hour or for a whole season, and just feel good when they watch it, hopefully. And that's a pretty incredible and powerful thing to be a part of, and that's surprising, because, you know, well, I don't know, for me as an actor, I mean, I watched Lost, and I remember always thinking, oh my god, I'd love to be a part of something like Lost, where you film somewhere and like people love it, and you know, like, it's crazy to think that there's a room full of people here who just love the show. That's amazing.
It's my favourite thing about TV is the community that it builds, and like, I watched a lot of TV growing up. TV was a huge part of my life, and I know what it feels like to have your comfort shows and what that brings. And I still, to this day, am such a huge, massive fan of TV that I totally get it, to lie down and to be moved and to have watched something for years, and I'm so invested in these characters, and they cry, I cry. Like, you know, I've been watching Grey's Anatomy from the beginning. Like, I watched everything, and I'm so invested, and like, these are my people. So I do totally understand why the show has had such a big effect on people, because I feel the same way about other shows. And I probably would feel this way more about Once if I hadn't have ruined it by being in it. You know? Because when I'm in it, I'm like, oh, why is my nostril flapping? I'm not like enjoying the scene. I'm just like, what is wrong with my face? Why is my hair doing that? Oh no. And then I'm not watching it. So I love what TV can bring to life. In terms of just like, it's like better than a big bar of chocolate.
We used to call her Flappy Nostril next. That's what we used to call her.
Left one.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Bex and Colin said, and I think it's also quite rare nowadays, I think we mentioned it earlier, to find something that's intergenerational. You know, something an 8, 9-year-old can watch with a 30, 40-year-old parent and even a 60, 70-year-old grandparent. To make something, because I have kids that are 9, 7 and 3, and trying to find something that all 3 of them will watch is tricky, you know what I mean? And if you've got a young one and then a teenager and you've got middle-aged parents and then you've got grandparents, it's almost impossible to find something that everybody could sit and watch. So for us to be so fortunate to be part of a show that so many of you have been kind enough to support and watch and love for years it's a real privilege. And I think, I wouldn't want to speak for everybody, but I think all of us are very aware how lucky we are that we got to be part of something really special or memorable like Once Upon a Time.
Sean, Colin, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.